You buy games from them, and more than likely you have a fair share of gripes about them. After all, you don't get the name worst company in America 3 years running without reasons behind it. But that wasn't always the case. The story of Electronic Arts is as long and complicated as my last marriage, and at one point in time, EA was known for being the best video game company in the business. Then something happened, and EA and the entire gaming industry would never be the same again. This is the fall of Electronic Arts. Game companies aren't like daisies. They don't just pop up out of nowhere, and probably won't come as a surprise that the man behind Electronic Arts, Trip Hawkins, originally worked for the actual creator of the Apple computer, Steve Wozniak. Trip started making games inside his cubicle at Apple and eventually recruited a bunch of his friends and employees from there and moved out on his own. The point I'm getting at is that Trip was one of the first gamers, knowing that Apple could do more than just calculations, that he could use it to make games, and wanting to make a company that would not only manufacture fun, but be able to share it with everyone. Trip was the first CEO not to only see his employees as artists, and was determined to treat them as such, being the first company to give each individual programmer, writer, graphic designer, and even janitor their own credit in each game, to include the name of the company, Electronic Arts. It literally stood for Electronic Artists. The problem with artists is that they are amazingly talented, but anybody with an art degree can tell you is that you don't make money. So in 1982, Trip hired on a businessman named Larry Probst, unknowingly recruiting the one man that would taint the entire gaming industry. Larry has a business management degree, and when he took over as CEO, he used that degree to change the company's structure to a business model. What they found out was that the business model gaming makes money, and money talks. Larry didn't care about games and still doesn't. Now don't get me wrong, Larry is not an evil man, he just likes money. He likes how it pays for things and is in fact not an artist. So he has no preconceived notions of artistic integrity, and so therefore, as far as Larry is concerned, money equals success and nothing else matters. But the problem with that is that without artistic integrity, you really don't know why people play games in the first place. Larry would never understand that gamers don't want to play games because they're the newest, latest, or greatest. They fall in love with a game's characters, stories, and gameplay because it was well built, like it was built with love. Larry unfortunately will never understand the concept of love because love cannot be described on a business model or spreadsheet. You in fact cannot manufacture love. But Larry wouldn't let a small thing like that stop him from trying. He would decide that if he couldn't manufacture it, he would find other game companies that did build their games with love, buy them out, and forcibly if needed, and have those companies manufacture love for him. Companies like BioWare, Maxis, and PopCap he would buy outright, forcing them to make sequels of their popular games until they no longer sell, laying off employees and liquidating the assets of the former company. Literally putting them in a chair, milking them for everything that they are worth until they are just shadows of their former self. The companies that EA bought would be forced to use old code, old engines, and focus on recurring characters because Larry was in this for the money. The money that subsidiary companies like BioWare get to make their games are using a bare bones model, which essentially means that they will never be allowed to expand or take risks without their gameplay. Think of it like asking a bank for a loan to build an experimental jetpack. You may be an experienced skydiver and even an electromechanical engineer, but there is no guarantee that your jetpack will work, and therefore no guarantee that they will get their money back. Bad game or good game, whether or not it's fan-loved or hated, if you buy it and the game makes its budget back, that's a win. Corporate buyout and playing it safe aren't necessarily bad business practices in itself. They make money, pure and simple. People buy name brand, and Larry knew it. However, when gamers found out that their beloved companies were being strip-mined, the negative reviews started to pour in. This led to the first of a continual line of bad business practices for EA. In an attempt to combat the negative reviews, instead of spending money on quality gameplay, Larry chose to spend money on buying reviews. He would find popular reviewers such as PC Gamer and offer them a job at an affiliate company such as BioWare if they were to provide a glowing review for their latest game. But this had its own share of problems. Hiring just anyone that knew how to program or that wanted to work for the company meant that you were no longer hiring people that genuinely wanted to make games just for making games. You were hiring people that wanted a job, which meant that they needed money to pay bills, rent, feed families. This created a boss-employee relationship with a game development team. It became about what the boss wanted and less about the team working together to create a work of love. Removing the team aspect from game development leads to pretty poor to terrible game design. The programmers don't talk to game developers, the developers don't talk to the graphic artists, and so on. This leads to a breakdown in all communication across the board and leads the gaming design process to people like Larry, who could really give a fuck about how the games are made. So he looks at what is popular in the market and attempts to duplicate and sell popularity. Something else that can't be explained in market shares or spreadsheets, but you can at least track it, which is safer than trying to track, manufacture, and sell love. The combination of not knowing what gamers want, corporate buyouts, copy and paste gameplay, bad business practices, code monkeys, and bad game design culminate into a melting pot and form the term full-price DLC. What gamers mean when they say full-price DLC is that a new addition to their franchise, all of the Madden series or Battlefront, is not actually a new game at all, but merely upgrades to the former title. Roster updates, additional character classes, upgrades to graphics, all these are pretty frivolous and are really the only improvements on the game at all, and traditionally are released as downloadable content for an existing game for either free or at max $5 to $10. Fiscal year 2012 to 2013, EA was named Worst Company of the Year and was even in the running for 2014. It should have come as no surprise that the reign of Larry was finally given a halt. The fans knew that EA had been corrupted from the inside, and all that we've talked about so far came crashing down on him. So EA hired Australian-born Andrew Wilson to take the helm, leaving King Larry on the board of representatives. It's been 2 years since Mr. Wilson took over, and there has been little else other than superficial changes to make investors and fans come back. At the end of the day, he's still there to make money, and so is the Board of Representatives. At the end of the day, I gripe and complain as much as I do about EA. It's not because they suck. It's because I'm disappointed in what they've become. And you gave them this power. Mother Brain, don't you see? All of these problems can be fixed by the fans. That's the real problem. By companies like EA using a business model, it puts the power of game creation ultimately in the hands of the fans. Outright refusal to buy or support a candidate or game does influence the people whose votes do matter. The Board of Representatives in any business do not like bad press. It's bad for business, and it's bad for their wallets. I talk shit on EA more than anyone else that I know, although I know that people agree with me. The only way to get EA and companies like them to stop being bad businesses is to stop buying what they're selling. Thanks guys for watching my video. If you liked what you heard, make sure you comment, subscribe, and share.